What's up, everybody? This is Talkin All That Kazz, and I am DJ Kazzeo. I want to thank you for checking out this particular episode of Talkin All That Kazz. On this particular episode, I got another great interview that I conducted here on my radio show at 90.9 FM KHCC in Salinas, California. But before we get going with that, I want you to go to this address, djkazzeo.com, and connect with me on social media. Whether it's on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on my Twitter, or even if you go and subscribe to my Mixcloud channel, you can hear all my radio shows that I do in their entirety, music, commentary, and interviews. But this right here, Talkin All That Kazz, this is for just the interviews, okay? I want to thank everybody who checked out the first round of interviews that I put up. Now we're on to the second round. This particular round, I'm going to focus on 2019, but I'm going to sprinkle it in with some more current stuff too. So you never know what you're going to get. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy another edition of Talkin All That Kazz with me, DJ Kazzeo. I don't know what's more of a lively conversation, that which we're having on the air or that which we're having in studio. But nonetheless, it's about to get even livelier because we're joined by a couple special guests right now. They go by the name of R Kitech and Dr. Enqi. You guys there? What's going on here?
Still on hold?
No,
like
this should be on the air.
You guys there?
Wait a minute. There we go. There? You there?
Yeah, we here.
Okay.
There you go.
See, I hate when people before me mess with the boards on the button.
Yep.
I mean the button on the boards. Anyway. All right. We got you guys, R Kitech and Dr. Enqi. Be quiet over there. You guys are there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. We on the air. Welcome to the show. What's the haps with you guys? I know R Kitech, you got a lot going on, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time, but let's get into the heart of the matter, man. What is up with the music?
Well, again, DJ Kazzeo, I appreciate you for bringing me on. Shouts out to everybody out on the West Coast, tuned in, supporting Kazzeo over the years. Hold it down, real hip-hop, man. I come from the legacy of the Hit Squad, the Def Squad, EPMD, and we just doing this music. We got a new single out called Reality Is, produced by myself, R Kitech, featuring the illustrious healer, Dr. Enqi. And we just trying to put out good music, man, help heal up the people, man, let them know, keep it real, keep it reality based. Not even real, keep it reality, So that's what's going on, man. That's what it is.
Absolutely, man. So, when we were talking off air, you were giving me a little bit of the history or the reputation of Dr. Enqi, which I wasn't aware of. Let's get a little bit more into that. I mean, who exactly is Dr. Enqi?
Well, that's an interesting question. I pretty much got into holistic healing, I would say, very early on. I kind of had a knack for science, but it didn't really transition into anything tangible until my youngest daughter at the time. She was ran over, ironically enough, by a nurse. She had fell asleep at the wheel and it broke her neck, her spine in a couple of places, crushed her pelvis, her left leg.
Damn.
And yeah, and the doctor said she would never walk again. That accident took place on like August 28th. By early that next year, through my own methods and putting my herbs together and just taking her health into my own hands, I had her back walking around. She kind of was limping and stuff like that, but she was back walking again and in school that very next year. By the very following summer, you couldn't tell that she was in an accident the summer before.
Wow.
So that right there kind of
that's crazy.
Just swept through the neighborhood, and people started to bring their problems to me, and one thing led to another, and I started to take it serious and go to various schools and get trainings and certifications, and before long I started people from other states and other countries, and then I became a naturopathic doctor, and just one thing just grew into another.
So when you have the success with, thinking outside the box and going a different route like that, does that leave you kind of like, with a bias towards Western medicine?
Good question. I would say initially, early on, I did, but as my reputation grew, I kind of got a chance to speak to a lot of doctors and like medical doctors and surgeons, and I learned that they didn't really know as much as I thought, because when you go through medical school, they don't really get a lot of training on like nutrition and diet and those, like for instance, you have a dietitian, you know what I'm saying, or a nutritionist. So when I learned, and then I started to go through some of the courseware and sit down, and so I learned that they don't really learn. Medical doctors learn medicine, surgeons learn surgery, so they don't really know anything outside of what it is. And now everybody's interest in terms of healing is changing, because people are seeing people have a lot of success with outside the box thinking. And then we have legends like the great Alfredo Dr. Sabi Bowman, who kind of paved the way for us in terms of being able to reverse some of the quote unquote uncurable illnesses at the time.
Nice.
And a lot of what he was doing was just so outside the box. There was really no clinical data to validate any of the things he was doing at the time. And fast forward now, 30, 40 years later, there's a lot of clinical data to scientifically substantiate the claims that he was making, back in the late 70s into the 80s. So it's just it's just really been remarkable to be a part of the whirlwind that's still continuing to gain momentum.
Do you have any people that try to discredit any of the work you've done or anything that you've learned?
All day.
Every day. Yo, every day. E, I had to jump. Listen, Kazzeo, how because we're vegans, because we're thinking outside of the box in relation to health and to music and the effects that it has on our body, we get I could tell you, just watching this brother's comment section, you got the non-believers, you got the haters, you got the naysayers, you got he's not a real doctor, he's not. But then when you go in the comment section and you see the people that had diabetes, that had these different types of cancers, that had these different a lot of the females that had the what's the gland issue, the fibroids. When you go in the comment section, you see real people, not 10 people, not 20 people, not 100 people, thousands of people.
Wow.
who support it, so that the love outweighs the hate way more.
Well, I mean, look, I'm open-minded, but at the same time, I'm skeptical of stuff. So, I see videos of some stuff like, a guy will be laying on the side of the road and some dude or shaman or someone be rubbing a rock over like his liver. Like all of a sudden he can tolerate whatever it was that was ailing him before. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Well, no, I don't know if it goes that far.
Yeah.
He's got a great video up talking about exactly what you're talking about, something that they do called Reiki healing. He just smashed that out. So yeah, you're supposed to be skeptical when it comes to somebody telling you what to put in your body or that they can fix you. Skepticism is your friend in that sense. E, would you say that's about right?
I would say that's 1,000% accurate. There's but here's what I would say also too. You have people that are in organized healing modalities like Western medicine that are frauds, right?
Right, that's true. Yeah.
That are prescribing medicines that they shouldn't be, that are doing what they call off-label marketing. And off-label marketing is where they sell medication to people that's not prescribed. They're doing the wrong search. So you have frauds everywhere. The thing is because there's such a huge financial, such huge finances involved with this, the fraud gets, instead of the fraud being penalized, the fraud gets elevated and branded as the entire genre. So people get to see, they'll go through 1,000, good practitioners and find 2 or 3 frauds and say, look at this guy right here rubbing his hands on the guy's head, talking about he's going to get rid of cancer with, touch healing. Like, they'll find that guy, and then they'll, so it's growing though, because now, like I said, there's so much clinical data, and when we look at, like, for instance, the top 150 prescribed medicines, right? Mm-hmm. The top 150 prescribed medicines, about 85 to 90% of those are actually herbal concentrates, right? So just the more we're learning now, it's like, wait a minute. So pharmaceutical companies just go into the jungle and they find plants, and then they isolate a compound from the plant, patent it because they cannot patent the whole plant, and then they sell people that, and then they badmouth the plant that they just, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they can't put a patent on plants, so there's no money in plants, you see? But they can put a patent on a isolated compound from the plant. So as more people are learning and empowering themselves, and then with the plants, most times you don't deal with the side effects, right? Because usually side effects come from the fact that there's some sort of, like if you have a calcium blocker, right? It's a calcium blocker, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to block calcium. So now all of the, the aspects of your biochemistry that rely on calcium, you can have a side effect pop up somewhere because you will be developing a calcium deficiency, right? But if you had the whole entire plant, right, the plant has the raw nutrients in there as well as the active medicinal compound that, that's been isolated for the pharmaceutical. So most times you still get the benefit, but you don't have the side effects, right? And so for the actual person looking to heal themselves, that's amazing. But for the company that may spend $500,000, see, I understand from both ends. You may spend $500,000 to $1 million out there in the jungle for 10 years looking to find this plant. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do I spend $1 million to find this plant for healing and then give it away for free? Like, how do I do that as a business? So, there's just got to be this middle ground where there's some education. There's some education.
Well,
and then,
I'll go back and I'll just to touch on the whole fraud thing that you brought up a second ago. I agree with that in the sense that I believe the flu shot is a fraud. Yeah. I believe because everyone I've known that has taken the flu shot, they've gotten sick and it's required follow-up doctor visits, which what does that do? Puts more money in the doctor's pocket.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. That's such a can of worms right there. Let me tell you two competing ideologies that are coming from the same face. So in the hood we don't deal with two-faced people, right? But so here's this entity, right? So now this is speaking primarily about HIV, right? So you have the vaccine community, right? And then you have the HIV community. And I'm talking about the scientists that provide the philosophies that undergird these industries, right? Because they are industries. Right. So you have the vaccine community that says there are viruses out there, and if you get one of these viruses, if you do not have a high level of antibodies in your body for this virus, that the virus can kill you. So you need to get a vaccine shot so that your body can produce a high amount of antibodies, and a high amount of antibodies means that you are healthy. So now, the amazing thing is that the HIV community says the exact opposite thing. They say, here's a virus, and if you get this, the way we know that you have this virus is if you have a whole lot of antibodies against this virus. So if you have a lot of antibodies in your body for HIV, that means that you're sick. And you need to be cured, and so they're working on getting a vaccine together for it. But it's like the fact.
Is he there?
Cut out.
He cut out.
Oh yeah, when he had his phone, be doing that.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, so basically, what he's saying is that there's no exact science to whether or not either side is correct.
Correct. And only one of them can be correct. So either the science undergirding what we know of as HIV and AIDS has some drastic rewriting that needs to be done, or the science that we know that undergirds the vaccine industry has some drastic rewriting to do. But they both cannot be correct because they're both saying the exact opposite. One is saying that a high amount of antibodies to a virus means you're healthy. The other one is saying a high amount of antibodies to a virus means you're sick. So it's like, wait a minute. At some point, the people are going to have to take education into their own hands and begin to figure out some things, so that way you're not just lost as John Q. Public in listening to people and you don't really have any understanding of your own biochemistry or how these things work or affect your body. So the main thing I promote is really education.
Yeah, and you know, just learn how to wash your hands.
Right.
That's so.
No, that's a fact. Yo, that is a super fact. And that's why if you listen to the Reality Is record, he aired it out on the end of the record, you know, speaking about, because the reality is we got to get educated. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a big deal. Like, it's a big thing. You can make a record about anything. You know what I mean? But let's do something, not to say educational, but like, come on, man, there's got to be some value to what we're creating. So me and Enqi came together I watched them for years on the internet. I reached out to the brother and we just clicked. Like, I mean, when I say we clicked, it was we stayed on the phone with each other probably a month, literally, every day, 5 hours a day.
Or 6.
Or 6 or 7. And most of the day going, we not running our business, we just building. So, you know, this is the relationship with me and Enqi is deep. And like I said, at the end of the day, bro, what he's doing for the people and what I intend to do politically, what I'm doing, you know, my twin brother's doing, what we're doing as a company out here in Long Island with the clinic and with everything we're doing, it's all about the people, man. It's all about serving the community, you know?
Wow. Well, I'm at a loss for words. I mean, no. I mean, I'm blown away by all this.
Earlier, you had said you had talked to doctors and surgeons, and I was just wondering, while you were talking with them, did you tell them what you were doing, that you were going to be educating people? And if you did they feel threatened, or were they happy for you for doing that?
Good question. I got a mixture of both, but I had to kind of fight my way through to them. So most of the doctors and stuff that I initially sat down and talked with actually started out as people trying to expose me as a fraud.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I would have these debates. I had a blog talk radio show back in the day. So people would come on and argue me down, and they would kind of leave butthurt a little bit and come back with the big brother syndrome.
Yeah.
And so they would come back with doctors and nurses and, you know, just quote unquote professional health people, right? And at the end of the conversation, all of these people would be like, man, you know, I just learned something from you today. That was amazing. You know what? I got to bring you over here and have you talk to some of the people I know. And you know what? I should bring you down to my job. I should bring you down to my school. I should bring you over here. I should bring you over there. And before you know it, it kind of spread. The same thing actually happened when I was in the hospital with my daughter. The first few days she was in ICU, and the doctors were coming taking blood samples every 2-3 times an hour, and so I stopped them from doing it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So at the time I didn't know that they went downstairs to the main doctor and complained about me. You know what I'm saying? But then after she got removed from ICU, I stopped them from feeding her the hospital food, and before long, the head doctor, who was Dr. Lee, had invited me down to his office to ask me you know, what are you doing, man? You want your daughter to heal, right? I'm like, yeah, you know, what's going on? And so he's got other doctors in there, and he's asking me, why am I not allowing her to eat the food, and why am I doing this, and why did I stop them from taking so much blood, and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm just explaining everything, and I'm like, well, you know, in order for the bone and the nerves to regrow, you know, it's you know, she's got to have an excess amount of this mineral and that mineral, and this increases the blood turnover and it slows down the blood turnover because now she's got to buffer the acids out, and the buffering the acids, she's got to pull phosphorus.
As you're telling them this, what is their facials looking like?
They're looking crazy. No, it gets better. No, it gets better because after this whole thing, and they're all like taking notes, and jaws are completely scraping the floor, right? And they're taking notes, and so Dr. Lee is like, so what medical school did you go to? I was like, medical school? No, I work at Verizon, bro. What?
And as soon as you say that, I'm sure the look of like,
no, he's like, yo, you're lying. What do you mean? I was like,
okay.
Listen, I just grew up, like I just had a weird hobby. Like I was literally as a child, like in my teenage years, like I read textbooks. You know what I'm saying? Like I still read texts. Well, now I'm writing them also, but
nice.
Like, so it started, I could just read it. Like somebody could read a mystery novel. I could sit down and read a textbook. Like my dad, he had me reading nonfiction books since I was young. So my knack for magic grew into like, little magic experiments and then science experiments. And then before long, that was just my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? People would, everybody would have a thing. Like some people like Xbox. Like me, I like a good textbook.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, if people want to get more on the Dr. Enqi story and get in contact, how they go about doing that?
They could catch me on IG. I'm always on IG. I'm on all of the podcast platforms right now. So Apple Podcast, what else? Spotify.
What's your IG handle?
Dr Enqi, Enqi.
Yeah, there you go. So make sure you check that out. Give him a follow, and he's got plenty more info than he's given us here. I know that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we're working on keeping the marathon running. I'm sure you guys heard of Nipsey Hussle's untimely transition.
Yes. Rest in peace, Nick.
So Nick Cannon picked up the ball with that because Nipsey Hussle was really trying to promote the whole entire Dr. Sebi paradigm, and I was lucky enough to be blessed to have one of my partners actually was raised by Dr. Sebi from birth. His mom was Dr. Sebi, one of Dr. Sebi's wives, Annette Thomas. So she taught me a lot and added on to my, added on to my canon of knowledge and just allowed me to sharpen myself up that much. So when Nick Cannon picked up the ball, so to speak, to keep the marathon continuing, or grabbed the baton, I should say more correctly, I definitely got the phone call and the nod, and we went out there and put some work in, and that's going to drop probably late this year or early next year. So it's going to be a lot of paradigm changing things to come in the next few years.
Word. And now, R Kitech, let's talk about Reality Is real quick before I let you guys go and you drop into it. Tell me about this, the production, what's the schedule for the video, and of course, all your social media stuff.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. So you can hit me up, and like I said, that's my brother. So if you hit him, he gonna lead you right to me, and vice versa. You can catch me, the Real Architect. That's RKITECH. Reality is out now on Sony Orchard, all streaming platforms, Tidal, Spotify, Google Music. I mean, you look for it, you're gonna find it. Just Google Architect Dr. Enqi Reality Is in any order, and then it'll pop up. And
how do you spell architect?
That's RKITECH. And then boom, the Real Architect. And again, I'm not hard to find. I'm pretty sure if you hit DJ Kazzeo and say, yo, I want to get at them cats, he'll point you in the right direction. So we here. And like I said, with the Reality Is joint, I was just vibing with it. That's actually the name of my EP. I got a solo project coming out called Reality Is. And this is the lead single off of it. I was just sitting in the crib vibing with the joint, and I called Enqi, and I'm like, yo, bro, I think I got something. I think I need you on the end of this. And it took him, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops? And then he shot it back, and I did a couple of little edits, but he dropped so much information in the end of the record you know, to buttress what I was doing on the verses, just talking to them and letting them know like where this whole gangster lifestyle leads you. And I think the record is timely because of what happened with Nipsey Hussle. And we kind of got to start to change that paradigm. Like you don't have to act ignorant. You don't have to be a tough guy. It's really not cool to be a drug addict. You know, despite what the culture's promoting, it's really lame to do all of that stuff. So that's what reality is. The EP is about. I got features on there like PMD from EPMD, Buckshot, Black Rob is on the joint.
Nice.
Mike Hands, shout out to Mike Hands. It's shaping together to be real special. But this is the lead single. I'm fortunate enough to be able to call this brother my brother, and I mean that literally. That's my brother. So, you know, we just rocking out, man. We putting this record out and support it, stream it, you know, download it. Make sure you hit us up, and I appreciate you, Kazzeo, for bringing us on, man.
No doubt, man. And real quick, let people know how they can check out your daily podcast.
Oh, this is Hip Hop hosted by R Kitech on Facebook. Join the group if you want to interview. This is Hip Hop hosted by R Kitech. It's that simple. Soon as you type in "This is Hip Hop," it'll pop right up in the Facebook feed. And we also have the Urban Conservative Podcast, which is our political outlet. We have the Bite Down Podcast, which is our vegan vegetarian education group where we share how to introduce yourself. And if you're not necessarily wanting to become a vegan or a vegetarian, we at least introduce you to the concept of thinking about what you're putting in your mouth. Because then once you go through that protocol, you end up with Dr. Enqi with that consultation trying to get it together. So ultimately, it's a closed loop system with what we're doing. Big shouts out to Rob Schwartz over there at Who Mag, Sony Orchard, and you know, again, man, this is just about putting out good music. It's about hailing the people and supporting each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. I want people to take away from this that, you know, basically I could have just called up and did the interview, but my man needs the airwaves. Dr. Enqi's doing a lot of work out here for the people. So take this as an opportunity to bring your peoples on with you when you get radio interviews. Keep supporting DJ Kazzeo. Keep supporting what brothers is doing. There's no shame in supporting each other. So, you know, with that said, man, I appreciate the love and the support, and, you know, we're going to chop it up.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Look for the This Is Hip Hop Facebook Live thing. I'm going to be on in about 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
Talking to you about various things. So it's going to be good.
We just came off a show with Dinko D from Leaders of the New School. Nice. I'm doing an interview, and I'm super, super hype about this interview I got coming up with Skepticism. If y'all don't know who that is, I don't even know what to tell y'all, but I got a major interview coming out with him. He got a new project. I got Black Moon coming up on the interview tip. They just dropped their first video in 15 years. I was just with them the other night. Salute the Black Moon. So, yeah, this is Hip Hop posted by R Kitech, of course, and you know, Dr. Enqi, that's DRENQI. Make sure to follow us, hit us up.
Well, just real quick, I think that's the major thing that's really important about this song and what we're really trying to do is that, you know, people hear certain types of music come along every so often, but I don't think people hear this type of music coming from somebody with such an extensive resume as you have, with all of the gold and the platinum and just the plethora of work, you know what I'm saying, that you already put in. So for you to kind of give it a stamp like, hold on, it's time for you to slow it down for a minute and you know, let's put some knowledge, like let's put some jewels back in the tank. I think it's just different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a whole nother energy.
Exactly, man. So you know what? We're going to run into it right now. This is R Kitech featuring Dr. Enqi. It's called Reality Is. I want to thank you guys for calling in tonight. I'm going to talk to you guys real soon, all right?
All right, we're here.
All right, peace.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Cornerstone. The R Kitech.